Why did the demons ask Jesus for the pigs? The story of Jesus granting the request of demons to enter a herd of pigs, which subsequently drowned in the Sea of Galilee, is one of the most perplexing and discussed events in the New Testament. Found in the synoptic Gospels, this account raises questions about Jesus' authority, the nature of evil, and the impact of spiritual intervention on human lives. This article explores the theological and symbolic significance of this event and its broader implications for understanding Jesus' ministry. The first and most significant aspect of this story is the demonstration of Jesus' absolute authority over the spiritual realm. In the encounter with the demon-possessed men in the region of the Gerasenes, the demons immediately recognized Jesus as the Son of God and feared his power. Their request to be sent into the pigs, rather than being destroyed outright or sent into the abyss, highlights their acknowledgement of his control over their fate. In the hills that overlooked the Sea of Galilee, the sun was beginning to set, casting long shadows over the barren land. A gentle breeze blew from the water, carrying the salty scent of the sea, mingling with the earthy aroma of the dusty trail. It was quiet, save for the occasional grunt from a herd of pigs grazing lazily near the rocky cliffs that dropped steeply into the waters below. But this peaceful scene masked a darker undercurrent. The nearby town of Gerasenes lived in the shadow of a disturbing presence. Two men, once a part of the community, had become more like beasts than men. Possessed by demons, they were driven from their homes, from their families, and from their very selves. The men now roamed the tombs, howling at the night, their chains broken, their bodies scarred from self-inflicted wounds. No one dared pass near them, for they were violent, unpredictable, and dangerous. To the people of Gerasenes, they were a living reminder of the chaotic forces that could upend any life in an instant. On this particular evening, however, something was about to change. Across the waters, a small boat approached the shore. In the boat was a man whose fame had spread far and wide, a man who had done impossible things, calmed storms with a word, healed the sick with a touch, and even raised the dead. His name was Jesus, and today he was coming to meet the demons that tormented the two men of Gerasenes. As the boat drew closer to the shore, a sense of anticipation filled the air, almost as if the very earth was holding its breath. The moment Jesus stepped onto the sand, something stirred in the distant hills. The two men, or rather, the demons inside them, sensed his presence. Without hesitation, they rushed down from the tombs toward Jesus. Their bodies moved with unnatural speed and strength, their eyes wide with a mixture of rage and terror. When they reached Jesus, they did not attack him. Instead, they fell at his feet, their faces twisted in agony, their voices shrill and desperate. "What do you want with us, Son of God?" they screamed. "Have you come here to torment us before the appointed time?" Jesus stood calmly, his eyes fixed on the men before him. He said nothing, but his very presence was enough to send waves of fear through the demons. The crowd that had gathered on the shore watched in awe. They had seen these men many times before, wild and uncontrollable, driven by forces they could not understand. Yet here they were, trembling before this man from Nazareth. The demons, realizing that they were about to be cast out, made a strange request. "If you cast us out, let us go into the pigs," they begged. The crowd looked at the herd of pigs nearby. There were thousands of them, snorting and rooting around the rocky cliffs. To the people of Gerasenes, these pigs were a valuable resource. They provided meat, income, and stability. To let demons into them would be to risk losing everything. But Jesus, in his infinite wisdom, simply said, "Go." No sooner had the words left his mouth than the demons surged out of the men and into the pigs. Immediately, the entire herd was thrown into a frenzy. The pigs began squealing in terror, their bodies convulsing as the demons took control. Without warning, they stampeded toward the cliffs. The earth trembled as thousands of pigs rushed headlong into the sea, their screams echoing through the valley. One by one, they plunged into the waters below, where they were swallowed by the waves. The townspeople stood in stunned silence, their mouths agape. Their precious herd, their livelihood, was gone in an instant. But even more shocking was the sight of the two men. They were sitting at Jesus' feet, calm and in their right minds. The transformation was so sudden, so complete, that it took a moment for the people to fully grasp what had happened. The men who had once been feared, who had lived among the dead, were now clothed and speaking softly with Jesus. Their eyes, once filled with madness, were now clear and full of gratitude. Yet, despite this miraculous healing, fear gripped the hearts of the townspeople. They had just witnessed a power far beyond their understanding. This man had commanded demons, and they had obeyed. What else was he capable of? What would he ask of them next? The loss of the pigs weighed heavily on their minds, and they began to murmur among themselves. "Who is this man?" they asked. "What kind of power does he possess? If he can do this to the pigs, what else can he do?" Their fear quickly turned into a collective decision. Though they had seen something incredible, though they had witnessed the deliverance of two tortured souls, they were not ready to accept the cost. The loss of the pigs was too great, and the unknown power of Jesus was too terrifying. They approached him, their faces pale, their voices trembling. "Please," they said, "leave our region." Jesus looked at them with compassion. He understood their fear, their reluctance to let go of the material comforts and security they held so dear. He had seen this reaction before and would see it again many times, but he would not force them to understand. His message was one of love and freedom, not coercion. He nodded and turned to leave, but as he prepared to step back into the boat, one of the men he had healed ran to him. His eyes were filled with tears of gratitude. "Lord," he said, "let me come with you. I want to follow you." Jesus smiled gently and shook his head. "No," he said, "return to your home and tell everyone what God has done for you." The man hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Though he longed to stay with Jesus, he knew that his mission was now to spread the news of his deliverance. He would be a living testimony to the power and mercy of God, and his story would be told for generations to come. As Jesus and his disciples sailed away, the man stood on the shore watching until the boat was a distant speck on the horizon. Then he turned and began walking back toward the town, his heart full of hope and a new sense of purpose. The story of the drowned pigs would spread quickly throughout the region, becoming a subject of debate and reflection. Some people would focus on the loss of the pigs, lamenting the financial blow to the town. They would see Jesus' actions as a threat to their livelihood, unable to look beyond the material loss to the greater spiritual truth. Others, however, would see the story for what it truly was, a demonstration of divine authority and compassion. They would understand that the drowning of the pigs was a small price to pay for the freedom of two men who had been living in torment for years. They would recognize that Jesus had not only healed these men, but had also given the people of Gerasenes a powerful reminder of the battle between good and evil, and the ultimate victory of God's kingdom over the forces of darkness. In time, the two men who had been possessed by demons would become well known throughout the region. They would tell their story to anyone who would listen, and their testimony would bring hope to many who were struggling with their own demons, whether literal or metaphorical. Their lives, once marked by chaos and destruction, would now be defined by peace and purpose. The story of the drowned pigs and the deliverance of the possessed men remains one of the most enigmatic and profound episodes in the Gospels. It challenges us to confront our own priorities and fears. Are we, like the townspeople, more concerned with our material possessions than with the spiritual well-being of ourselves and others? Do we allow fear of the unknown to keep us from embracing the transformative power of God in our lives? Jesus' decision to allow the demons to enter the pigs is not just a story of power and authority. It is a story of mercy and wisdom. He knew that the people of Gerasenes were not ready to accept his message fully, but he also knew that the two men he healed would go on to be living testimonies of his grace, and that in time the seeds of his message would take root. As we reflect on this story, we are invited to consider where we place our trust. Do we trust in material wealth and the security it seems to offer? Or do we trust in the power of God, who can bring healing, freedom, and transformation even in the most unexpected ways? The pigs may have drowned, But the message of Jesus' mercy and power continues to rise, offering hope to all who are willing to listen. This story, much like the original, reminds us that the most valuable things in life cannot be measured in material terms. It challenges us to see beyond the surface, to recognize the deeper spiritual truths at work, and to embrace the freedom and healing that Jesus offers to all who come to him. This version of the story explores the profound moral, spiritual and emotional elements of the original narrative, while providing a detailed and engaging account. What is your opinion in our video today? Comment down below.